Coaches have the ability to shape an athlete. They are their teacher and mentor. Over the course of this class, we have talked about the conflict of interest that coaches have in Division I athletics when it comes to prioritizing an athlete's future and the fame and financial gain of winning. Taking into consideration that UCR is a Division I no football school, we sought to find out the relationship between athletics and academics that UCR stakeholders and athletes have. UCR houses several athletic teams with the highest and lowest APR scores in the Big West Conference. What makes them different? Is it because some coaches put more emphasis on athletics compared to academics? Is there more pressure on some teams compared to others? Do coaches care about their APR scores? Do coaches have goals and aspirations when it comes to the academic progress of their players? We interviewed 4 coaches and other athletic stakeholders to get their view on these issues. Then we asked student athletes the question that only they can answer. Does the pressure to perform in Division I athletics affect your academic performance?
Do you think that coaches put too much emphasis on athletics compared to academics?
I think coaches have a tendency to do that during the season, and it's easy for coaches to think that way, but we have to always maintain that the academics and the degree is the most important thing in their life for their future.
Can coaches do more to encourage athletes to get better grades?
Absolutely. I think the opportunity is there to be able to withdraw athletes from competition opportunities and practice opportunities if they show slippage in their grades or GPA, and just be able to make sure that they back up their words with actions in terms of emphasizing the academic part.
Have you ever had consequences for your athletes if they lose a game or perform poorly?
The only consequence I can say that we have probably reinforced is maybe missing out on another meet opportunity for traveling's sake. We have a lot of meets during the season, but if someone travels and performs poorly and we feel like it's because they weren't prepared mentally or something like that, there might be an opportunity to maybe bypass that person on the next go around because we do have a limited squad when we travel.
Have you ever made consequences for athletes if they get a failing grade?
Oh, absolutely. That is necessary. If we can prove that that person didn't seek out extra help or tutoring or didn't attend office hours, we want them to understand if they give their very best effort and don't do well, we're going to support them. But if they didn't put their best foot forward and fail, it might be something where they pay for that class themselves the next time they take it. The scholarship dollars could be adjusted, or at the end of the day, if they're not eligible, they're going to miss out on competitions anyway.
As the new head track and field coach, what do you plan to do with regards to the men's track APR score, which is the second to lowest in the conference?
I think one of the things that we can do is emphasize more spring academics. Usually our kids do well winter and fall, but the spring, because that's where more of our traveling is done, that's where we see a little bit of slip up. So maybe there's things that we can look at with regards to who travels out of town, and then making sure that we're monitoring the academic course load while we're gone to ensure that people aren't getting behind and causing an issue in their overall grading or their eligibility. So we're going to pay attention to some of those things a little bit more closer. We certainly want to raise the profile of the APR on the men's side. This last fall we got our new numbers and we're doing pretty well just in the last year, but certainly the multi-year average we have some work to do.
I do not give consequences for bad in-game performance. I do not even blame my athletes. If we lose, then I blame myself for not executing the game plan properly during practice. APR scores do not show the whole picture. If one of my athletes does not have a good on-campus experience and decides to transfer, then we lose points. Not because I did not push him towards success, but because he decided to seek a different experience.
Do you think that coaches put too much emphasis on athletics compared to academics?
I don't think so, because we're all here for our sport initially, but we're also here for the student athletes as well. So at least for us, we try to mold them in all aspects. So we want them to do well in school, we want them to do well on the soccer field, but we also want them to do well in just kind of growing up and becoming adults, which is being responsible and handling their business and taking accountability. So academics comes into that.
Have you ever had consequences for your athletes if they lose a game or perform poorly? If so, why?
Not for losing a game. We would have consequences for them if we don't think they prepared properly for the game, or if they didn't put forth the right effort during the game. Um, but to me, sometimes losing, you can learn a lot from losing. And if they put forth the right effort, especially in our sport, sometimes you can dominate the sport and not actually win. So it doesn't do me any good to punish somebody because the game already has punished them because they've lost that game.
Have you ever made consequences for athletes if they get a failing grade?
Again, same idea. If they aren't going to class or they're not doing their work, then yeah. If they're putting forth all the effort and they just need extra help, then we'll try and get them the extra help.
Men's soccer has the highest APR in the Big West Conference. Can you talk about that compared to also winning on the field as the 2014 South Division champions?
I think having a high APR for us is twofold. I think we've worked really hard with our guys to make sure that they do well academically. The other thing is we don't really have guys looking to transfer, and that's part of losing APR points is when somebody transfers out, you lose that retention point as well. So I think our athletes really enjoy being a part of this team and a part of the school, so they're not looking to take off or leave, so that helps us. And then obviously with them sticking around, it helps build team unity, so that helps us work towards what we're trying to do on the field, which I think helped us win a championship last year as well. So.
Do you think that coaches put too much emphasis on athletics compared to academics?
Oh boy, it's an interesting question. Yes and no. Sport is a business, really. In the big schools, in the big time schools, like think about Michigan, 100 and some thousand fans going to a football game. When that happens and there's so many people, there's so much interest, they get a lot of money. So you could see how it builds up to pressure in being successful. We're not involved in the money aspect of it. We do it for the sport. Mm-hmm. So no, there's no pressure. The most important thing for our student athletes is being a student.
Have you ever had consequences for your athletes if they lose a game or perform poorly?
No, there's no such thing. You set goals to win, and then you prepare. Mm-hmm. And then maybe you didn't prepare right. Maybe you were lazy in your approach. And maybe you need to push them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do have to win, I guess. Mm-hmm. If you're playing in front of 100 million people or 100,000 people and millions are at stake. UCR is nothing like that. We don't play in front of 100,000 people. Mm-hmm. So it depends as to where you are and where you choose to go and what part of athletics you want to be involved in. So, but I can also see how I wouldn't want to be a part of that, but I could see how you can lose concept of the student part when the athlete part plays such a big role in the money part of the athletics in a particular university. So it depends at what level we're talking about as to where the pressures are.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about having the lowest APR scores from the conference?
In the conference, I don't think the APR is an indication about how you're doing academically.
Does the pressure from coaches to compete on the field affect a student athlete's academic success?
Absolutely. If I'm failing out there and I'm not getting any positive reinforcement, any encouragement, my confidence just starts to crumble. And now, what I thought I was good at out there carries over to academics, and I'm just going, I'm not good at anything.
Can encouragement in academics from a coach change the view about academics for the student?
Sure. But if a coach values academics, and they're a good coach, because a good coach is a good teacher, right? So a good coach, good teacher, and they value academics, then they're going to do everything they can to make you successful in academics.
In the past, UCR has had the lowest graduation rates and continues to have some of the lowest APR rates. Do you plan on addressing this issue?
Absolutely. We've already started addressing, like I said, I pulled all the coaches' contracts and added in the verbiage that we will meet 1,000 APR, we will meet 3.0 and above GPAs, and they will get incentives for doing that.
Does your coach put more pressure on your athletics than your academics?
I think our coach have a balance.
I do feel that the pressure a coach puts on us affects my academic performance.
I don't feel a lot of pressure.
My coaches put more stress on academics more than the athletics.
I think the athletic pressure that our coach puts on us is can affect our academics, I guess.
I think it's equal.
Depends if you're in the season or not.
I'm in between because it also depends on the athlete.
No, I actually think it helps out.
We have a lot of pressure on academics as well, so.
Yeah, definitely.
Through the process of interviewing, we discovered that athletes at UCR feel that most coaches emphasize their athletics and academics evenly. The coaches whose teams had the highest APR scores were the ones that felt APR mattered. The coaches whose team had the lowest scores did not feel the APR scores accurately assessed the whole picture of academics. This shows that the level of interest the coach displays translates to that of the athletes. Also, coaches do put pressure on athletes in both the athletic and academic fields. But as athletes report, it is not always a bad thing. Tamika Smith-Jones, the athletic director, stated how she plans to have coaches focus on academics just as much as athletics. It'll be interesting to see how her ideas will be implemented and received by the coaches. We look forward to a day when UCR's APR scores are at 1,000 and team GPAs are at or above a 3.0.